One of the rare sequels that Ridley Scott has done is the follow-up to 2000's Gladiator with Gladiator II. No, it's Gladiator 2. I can read Roman numerals. That's a silly joke. Yeah, it's a movie that's about 2.5 hours long. It's a bit shorter than the first one, but there's a rumored cut out there that they're not working on anything to release that, but I would be very curious to see that. But Lachlan, what is Gladiator 2 all about?
Years after witnessing the death of the revered hero Maximus at the hands of his uncle, Lucius is forced to enter the Colosseum after his home is conquered by the tyrannical emperors who now lead Rome with an iron fist. With rage in his heart and the future of the empire at stake, Lucius must look to his past to find strength and honor and return the glory of Rome to its people.
Low-key reads kind of like a Star Wars synopsis, not gonna lie, when you said like the empire is at stake. But so far, with the international release this has had so far, because in the States they are pairing it up with Wicked, because I feel like they're giving people some breathing room for the election. I don't know why exactly, but I think that's the reason. It's been received, I think, kind of okay-ish so far. It's a bit all over the place, with like people actually really disliking it and people really liking it. It averages out over on Letterboxd as a 3.5 on IMDb, a 7 on Metacritic. Based on the critic reviews, it's at a 67 on 34 reviews, and on Rotten Tomatoes, it's a 77 on 117 reviews. It is a blockbuster, even though that first one, maybe Gladiator, you don't point to, the best picture winner. It's also like a blockbuster movie. Well, its sequel definitely is, with a budget of $300 million. And I think it is well spent in the sharks, the angry monkeys, and the fantastic production design by Arthur Max. It's rolling out a bit more widely into wide release onto IMAX screens, which I would probably say is worth the experience for the big action spectacle that it is. A bit more than the last one. This is action over drama and actual story. But Lachlan, let's kick it off here. We're gonna do a full-on spoiler review for the film. What did you make of Gladiator 2?
Ewan, I have so many thoughts because I saw this at a quote-unquote advanced screening. It was just the day before it actually technically launched. And there wasn't that many people in the audience, and it made me happy because it just allowed me to kind of concentrate. I try to stay away from the reviews, but because of this podcast and the fact that I've been doing a lot of the social stuff, I had to watch you and Kev's review that went up a little bit earlier, and I listened to your thoughts, and I felt like I was going to hate the movie. I honestly thought I was going to go in and I was going to hate the movie, and I'll be honest, it's in my top 10 movies of the year.
Oh, wow. Okay. I wasn't expecting. You said that like you fence sitters are both like at a 7 out of 10 for this, or like 6.5 in my case. And it's like, what's that all about? I got a clear opinion. And you usually, I think, don't. I was expecting maybe you go lower and say this is like really bad. I wasn't expecting you actually like really loving it. So you got to tell me, is it the action? Is that what really worked for you, or what about it?
Why don't you like this movie? Well, not why don't you don't like it? Because obviously you're more on the positive side.
I do like it.
What do you think sucks?
Story. I think the writing is all over the place, and I really didn't like the editing. I think the editing is the biggest thing.
What's with the editing thing? Because I had no problems with the editing.
I feel like it's a bit all over the place, and I don't like the way that it jumps from scene to scene. Something about it always feels like there's something missing.
Like an establishing shot?
I just had that feeling. No, not an establishing shot, but like the scenes in between, it feels like jumping time is like arbitrary. Like maybe it's also the juxtaposition of this one scene where they talk about like it's the first day of the games, right?
Yep.
And then there's a sentence about like, oh, tomorrow is the third day of the games. Like, what about the second day? What is happening?
Yeah.
Tomorrow is the final day.
The Colosseum
then it
water,
just keeps
brother. It
going.
takes a long time.
It just doesn't end.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, but we are like on the 5th day now. But didn't they say the 3rd is the final day?
Okay.
And it's like, what is happening? So it's just something about continuity. And like, that's an editing issue.
So for me, I didn't really hate any of the editing things. I can totally see what you're saying, but I don't think I ever got away from what was happening. I do agree with your like time is sort of relatively scaled between different days, And I do agree with you. I also kind of said, what about the second day? But obviously they then flood the Colosseum with water and sharks, and I was
There's
like,
sharks, and I'm like, well, sorry, someone was saying something. There's sharks in the Colosseum right
I
now.
see why
I
it
can't
took them
listen
so
to you.
long. I see why they had to wait a whole day. So for
Yeah.
me, I totally get what you're saying there. For me, the only editing things I had problems with were there were particular moments where they should have held for a little bit longer. And there were other moments where I was like, why are you still holding on to this shot? My favorite example of that is
Yeah.
towards the end, at the end of the Pedro Pascal and this is not a spoiler. Are we doing spoilers? Yeah, fuck it, we're doing spoilers.
We're doing spoilers. We're doing.
At the end of the Pedro Pascal and Paul Mescal fight, I'm just going to refer to them by their actors' names because fuck saying like Lucius and Atreides and Maximus and all this shit, right? But between Pedro and Paul, at the end of that fight, there is a particular shot that stays on Denzel Washington's character for far too long. It's him looking into the crowd, and it's just taking far too long. And there are other moments in this movie that are more emotionally weighted, but they cut away from it way too quickly. And the problem I have with this film, the reason it's not a 4.5-star movie, is because there's no low moments. There's no slow moments. There's no moments where Maximus is like talking to his troops in the cages, right? Lucius never gets that moment. They have those little things to build relationships, like them like laughing and making the monkey sounds and yada yada yada, but you don't feel that relationship building. The problem I think we've got is Maximus as a character in the original one was Rome's greatest what was he, general, right? He was fantastic with war strategy. He brought Rome all of these conquered lands, and we get that. We get a massive fight in Gladiator, right? One that we don't really...
Yeah, we got another general that's revered.
And I thought we were going
with Acacius, right? With Pedro.
And we don't really get that same sized battle. We get a small one at the opening of this movie, but we don't really get that same size battle as we did in Gladiator, nor do we get the same size ones that we got in Napoleon, nor do we get the same size ones that maybe even the last Jules
Kingdom of Heaven,
right? So the scale of this movie isn't the same size as Gladiator, but also this movie doesn't have those low moments that build the characters. And after all, we are introducing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 new characters into this world, and we don't get any low moments to explore them. So for me, a character like Lucius should have those low moments. We already know who the character is. We already know his background. Maximus was the general. Yeah. He started up here, but he went all the way down here and he made his way back up, right? The thing is... Go ahead before
I think with Lucius, or Hanno for most part of the film, is that his low moment is supposed to be like his wife dying, and then as you uncover more about him, it's like the constant thing of this is not a new low for him. He's always been at that low since he was sent away.
Forgive me, I don't mean low as in low point. I refer to building resilience and building a relationship with the rest of the gladiators in that fight to make them.
He has that with the one doctor, I guess.
He has the low moments with the doctor, but that's one character who then plays one big important role at the end of the film. But also, this is about the relationship between him and Rome, and we only get it between him and the one character. So, sorry, I don't mean like the low moments for him. Yes, he has a low moment, but I'm talking about the little conversations he has, which is only with the doctor, and it's not with anyone else, right? So for me, I don't think we ever get these emotionally driven scenes. We only get big snippets of it to push the story through. Because the only the problem with that is that it's all for narrative. It's not for character building. Because Denzel Washington's character is very much the same up until the last third of the film, because that's when all of his character development comes in. That's when he changes. And to be honest, my favorite character in this movie is Denzel Washington's character, because he is the character that has kept me engaged. To be that way, He is cool. He has fucking sick dialogue, even though the dialogue is a bit cringy at times, but he makes it fucking cool. He has a laugh. He's charismatic. He is an actually fun character. Lucius, and this is my easiest example, is Harry Potter. Lucius
is very bland.
Is very bland.
The take on Harry Potter.
And he is kind of born into this, right? He doesn't fight for it like Maximus. My point was going to be Maximus fought his way up to this general position, from like a nothing. He then got put down, and then you get that fight again. It makes the journey in Gladiator worth it. For Lucius, he is a somebody who became a nobody, but he never fought originally. So this fight for him to go for Rome is not because he wants to just like save Rome. It's his birthright. And it's like, well, I'm not interested in the character whose birthright. Like, it's the same with Harry Potter. I don't care he's a fucking chosen one.
Yeah. The way that they frame it is also that he is filled with rage. So his story arc would be to grow into a leader role from someone who's just who's just killing and is just filled with rage. I didn't get that impression. He seemed to be pretty level-headed at the start, and then they focus on his rage.
His character should be like, he should be brutal. He should be fucking what is it, the in Gurney in Dune with the Harkonnen? They're like, they're not human, they're fucking brutal, or whatever it is, right? Like
yeah.
I wanted that. I wanted him to be, and then I wanted him to bring it back to be a warrior, to understand that he is taking the life of other people and that's affecting other people, right? But the journey they went on for him in particular was just mid. So this is why the movie is not a perfect rating for me at 5 stars or 4.5, because I unfortunately think the narrative and the main character itself is just, it sucks. He's a little boring. He gets this world given to him on a silver platter, and then, you know, he's just a little bitch. Now, this has nothing to do with Paul Mescal's performance, because I fucking love him. I love him, and I like what he does with the character. I like how he projects his voice during speeches, and I genuinely think he does carry the story quite well, and he does carry the character quite well. But it doesn't beat Denzel Washington, because Denzel Washington is the coolest motherfucker there is. He fucking nails every line, he gets it, and even his journey at the end of the film I found super rewarding, because he had an alternative motive. Just wish the motive was presented earlier. I just wish they set that up earlier, because the second half of that movie is just too quick. And it's just like all of a sudden he's just doing move after move after move. And the two ruling emperors, whose names,
and Caracalla, or Joseph Quinn and Fred Hetchinger.
Yeah, they are so much fun. They are, because Joseph Quinn is a level-headed one. Fred Hetchinger is mental, and I love that duality of the fun one and the level-headed one who makes all the rules and is actually the emperor, right? And I really wanted this backstabbing thing to happen, and I totally saw Denzel setting that up, but they set it up in one scene and end it in one scene, and I was like, no, you need this to last until the end. This is not how I want Emperor Getter's death to happen. I want it to be set up. I want it to be deserved. I want his brother to, you know, get corrupted by Denzel's like thing, and like mind games, and then fucking kill him.
Yeah, it's like ultimately, how about I scheme my way through all of it? Nope, I'm actually just stabbing you in the throat, stabbing you in the ear.
Oh, mate, and I felt like, that was undeserved. Like, just stabbing him and then, like, give me help, and then...
You could do that. You would have to, obviously, things aren't going as planned, so he has to quicken the timeline of what's happening, because, like, you know, the army is, like, the people from Acacias are approaching his loyalists, and there needs to be a bit more desperation on his side, and I feel like he still felt like he had the upper hand.
A timeline.
And the way that it,
make him like have a terminal disease or something. I don't know if the Romans had that kind of knowledge, but like give him something that puts him on a timeline, because it makes him need to move things further. And like the army's a good one, like the army approaching, make them further away, make them having to walk back, make it a journey. The unfortunate thing was, yes, the narrative, when you look at it, isn't really that great. Unfortunately, the character of Lucius isn't my favorite character especially in comparison to Maximus. I even felt that Arceus, Pedro Pascal's character, was more of an engaging and at least a character that had a moral dilemma, right? He is Rome's greatest general, but he fucking hates the emperors, and he wants Rome to be Rome and Rome only. He doesn't want to conquer. He wants to not kill more people, not only for Romans, but he kind of probably feels it for the people he's conquering as well, like killing family. Like he felt like he had this duality of like he wanted to be a ruler.
I mean,
and
you
whatnot.
watched a short review, right?
Yes.
To me, this is the biggest left potential there. I think that Acacius is actually would be they prop up Macrinius with Washington as the main thing, right? The like your eyeballs are going to go to that character because there's the most stuff happening there.
Yeah.
And Arcassius kind of exits the movie a bit early, which to your point of like a low moment, I think this is the best low moment that is used for a big swing is when he doesn't attack Lucius. Lucius, in response to that, also doesn't do it, and he gets shot. I don't like the way that it's executed with him shooting. Something about that also didn't completely work for me. It was a bit cheesy. Oh wait, no, sorry, that was earlier when he was shooting his mother. It's the timelines are converging. There's just a lot of arrows are killing people in the gladiator pit for some reason. His death, I feel like, is the catalyst for the army to then really go on a move. Although they were already moved, it feels like a response to that with the rest of the people in the Colosseum. And I think that's one of the moments where it's within one scene where it shifts, and you would want that for the Emperor scene as well, with Macrinius, kind of like the manipulation that happens. I feel like here there's a flipping point for the general Roman people, and there it works successfully. I don't think it works that well with the Emperors there.
And with the Emperors, I found them engaging because they were psychopaths, and that was the interesting, because these are the Emperors, and we've obviously had a psychopath Emperor before with Joaquin Phoenix's Emperor in Gladiator, but this
Joker.
was Joker. We had two this time, and at first I was a bit turned off by the Joseph Quinn's Black Swan makeup and Emperor Caracalla, Fred Hutchins's Joker makeup, and they were both really pale and big eyes. They were fun, and this is where I want to go with the rest of this review very quickly. In the most infamous quote of Gladiator, I was entertained. I was so entertained through the entire thing that, yes, I made comments of, for example, I wrote the fight scene at the start wasn't crazy, but it was good. Like, it wasn't to the same scale of Ridley's other things. Paul Mescal's speech at the start of the movie was mid. Like, I didn't enjoy it. And then later on, I wrote that his final,
it's giving theater play.
His final speech, like going out, like, was great. Like, I actually thought it was quite good.
Yeah.
I don't have any issues with the editing so far. I found the first Gladiator fight quite entertaining. I love Denzel. I wrote that like 4 different times. The confronting scene between him and his mother, like, I wrote like that was trash. But the thing was, I didn't write that many notes.
Yeah.
I wrote notes when I didn't like a particular thing. And there's only like 3 or 4 different things. The ones I did enjoy, I was like, the shark scene, like with the sharks in the Colosseum. I wrote
the boat and all of it.
I smiled when I saw the sharks like first take some. I literally went like this.
Yeah, this is like Hunger Games.
I was like, this is great. I was entertained, and I know people are trashing about the historical accuracy of Gladiator. I don't fucking care. This is entertaining as hell. And the way I'm describing this movie, right? Gladiator 1 is Dune Part 1. Dune Part 2 was the action-filled one. That is Gladiator 2. Gladiator 2 is the entertainment piece. It is meant to be the stuff your face with popcorn and have a good time piece. Not have the character development and everything. Like, watch Pedro Pascal get filled with arrows. Watch Joseph Quinn get slashed in the throat and walk around like a madman. Watch Lucius row a boat for 20 minutes or whatever. You watch this like undermining of who's gonna overthrow the emperor with this underground ring that Lucia is planning and scheming. But who the fuck cares? Get away from that and get back to the Colosseum with some fights. I was so entertained through this entire thing, even up to the point at the end where Denzel and Paul fight, and I loved him cutting off the hand and then slicing him up, and then he falls into the water, and I was like, that's so good.
Yeah.
2 different armies facing behind him or around him, surrounding him, and just letting them fight, and then all coming together. I was entertained through this movie. I love that, because that is the best part about this movie. I haven't gone to a movie recently and I felt that entertained. I was impressed by a lot of I mean, we talked about A Different Man, that I'm giving this movie 4 stars, by the way. That's where I'm landing at. I'm giving this movie 4 stars,
Okay.
the same as A Different Man, but it's because A Different Man I liked for a lot of different reasons, and I was engaged with that movie, but I don't think I would want to actively go and rewatch that movie again. I wanted to leave work today, because we're recording this early, wanted to leave work today, try to squeeze this movie in before we started recording again, because I really want to see it a second time. I really want to see this movie a second time and see if I am entertained, because this is a movie that I think I could just put on and just watch as like one of those. This is a movie that you don't skip if it's on TV.
That's the quality of a dad movie. It's just
It's
like
a dad movie.
on, and then you're like slowly because okay, I'm folding laundry. Well, okay, I might as well sit down while I do that.
Yeah.
Oh, grab a snack and actually watch the whole thing. That's quintessentially a dad movie, and not in a derogatory like way at all. This is like the best qualities of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have much to add. I think there's a non-spoiler review out. I think this was more you getting to lay out all your points, and I can just kind of react off of them. And I do agree in a lot of ways. I don't think we're like much apart in the quality of this film. If you give it an 8, I'm at it like a 6.5, because I'm giving it a 7 out of 10 and a 3.5 out of 5 just for unison. It's closer to a 7 than a 6. Whatever. Who the fuck gives a shit about a rating? Because I feel like this is a spectacle. The 300 millions on display, and shout out again to Arthur Max for the production design and the look overall. He's worked with Ridley Scott on the first Gladiator film. He also worked with Fincher on 7, but he also was a part of Napoleon, Prometheus, The Last Duel, and many more films that he's done. I think one of the shortcomings of the film, though, is David Scarpa's script, because he's also done All the Money in the World, which was one of the weaker Fincher films, and Napoleon, which also had its shortcomings around like a historical time period, and there specifically a figure that didn't work. But Lachlan, you raised your hand, and I'm a good teacher.
One more thing, man.
What do you want to say?
One more thing.
One more thing.
Is 2024 one of the best years of blockbusters in a long time?
Doom
Part 2, Gladiator 2, Furiosa, what else? Twisters, Planet of the Apes, A Quiet Place Day 1, The Fall Guy is a massive blockbuster. I'm just trying to see if there's any other. Deadpool and Wolverine was huge. Godzilla versus King Kong, or Godzilla Kong.
More than last year, for sure.
I think this is one of the best years of blockbusters, or at least the main big Hollywood blockbuster isn't. Just like
it's because there's not that many MCU films out.
No, there's not. I mean, yeah, okay, sure, you're right on that one. But let me go back to 2023. What was the big blockbuster last year?
Barbie,
Oppenheimer, Spider-Verse.
Oh yeah, I guess Spider-Verse was also.
Those
I mean, that with that categorization, then the blockbuster would also be Inside Out too. I guess, but that was very much the end of the year, so not really part of end of the year before. I think I don't remember.
But like, I don't think we've had this many genuinely like big quote unquote blockbuster popcorn eating filling dad movies in a while that have been to a good entertainment quality. Like, yeah, sure, they don't have the best narratives like we've just spoken about, or they have like the craziest the scores or whatever, but they've been genuinely good movies this year, and that is exciting.
Yeah, or the ones that we got last year, like The Creator, that were good, didn't get the acknowledgement like A Planet of the Apes ended up getting this year, where it was something new, continuation of something, but like not connected to a whatever iteration in a franchise, but a new start to something. And it worked. Or Godzilla -1 that ended up being a big hit. And with here, we had high expectations for Dune 2. It delivered, and we had just a bunch of those. And I feel like that ultimately makes it seem like a year where a lot of it. I mean, we had like Super Mario Brothers movie.
It's going to get better.
Wonka.
Next year, we have the Minecraft movie to look forward to, and I think that's going to absolutely kill kids.
Sure. We'll keep our most anticipated. I haven't really had a look yet because I'm as soon as
Mickey
we start
17.
crafting our most anticipated Mickey 17. Well,
Again.
I think we get that in 2026. I don't think we get that next year. We gotta wait a bit longer for that one. But yeah, we already shared our ratings. I think because time wise, because we're already so far into this recording, I wanted to talk about like Ridley Scott and what he's doing. We already did that earlier in the show in news, and what like his final years of his career will be. I feel like he'll have, like you said, like 17 more productions or something like that. He got his producer credit on, 7 more directorial things he's working on. So it's likely that he'll crank out a couple more movie before he croaks, and I'm looking forward to it. And then again, hey, I feel like the way he puts things bluntly, he'd actually appreciate me being straightforward about it, and I'm looking forward to it. To update our bracket list where we did like these are all the Ridley Scott movies. By the time we ended up editing and recording that, he already published 3 more films, so we'll have to update that at some point. And in the director's cut, you know, I don't know if it's in the works or if we'll ever get that, or he actually has an interest in crafting that if he feels like the studio took away from something that his ultimate vision. I don't know. I feel like it would maybe add something to the final act if that was maybe a bit more cleaned up. I don't know. Maybe that was his intention and he got it across in this film.
4 hour cut.
I think he said there's like, obviously probably more a rough cut than it is a theatrical one that they have ready, but he was talking about like an cut that was like 3 hours and 40 or 45 minutes, which is what we are approaching here on this podcast. So Lachlan, ratings wise, 8 out of 10 for you. I'll move mine up from a 6.5 to a 7 out of 10, and we can both recommend it. But if you were to pair it up with anything else in a double feature, vast tale of Rome, what would you pair up with it? Not that it needs to have anything to do with Rome.
I think that in the year of blockbusters, we need to talk about how we don't really get that historical element anymore. Like like we don't really get to see like Rome that often in this kind of limelight. So I thought that what we should do is we should compare, you know, one version of Rome to another. So my double feature is another massive flopbuster from this year, which is Megalopolis.
Okay.
Because it's also...
I thought you were gonna go with another Ridley Scott film, and I was worried that you would go with what's it called, Exodus?
No. I'm going Megalopolis because of how much Rome-inspired sets we get, and characters and costumes, and how you can look at that version of Rome and go, what the fuck, and not be entertained, and then come and watch this and be entertained.
But if you are craving that really, really long film, that William Wyler has a film for you ready and stood that I have not seen to this day. I really haven't seen the 222 minutes. Jesus Christ. Long movie from 1959, Ben-Hur. I might actually make time for it this week and make that our pick. Maybe you could do that in our Discord as well, the potential double features here that we mentioned. Because I feel like Ben-Hur
and Megalopolis.
Ben-Hur.
What a great
It's so long. Well,
pick.
no, actually, I always feel like Megalopolis is 4 hours long, but isn't it like 2 hours?
Yeah, it's like 2 hours, dude. It's
I always feel like it's 3 hours. I was so surprised, I think, when that runtime came in for Gun, because I had different expectations, that I never adjusted my thinking that it's like, you know, just 2 hours long.